I'm Tom Graham. President Trump honoring the late Senator Lindsey Graham today at the National Cathedral in Washington.
But no matter how high he rose, he never forgot where he came from. There's probably not a single town in South Carolina where Lindsey did not help repair a bridge, expand a school, improve a hospital, or recover from a disaster.
It's the start of 2 days of services for Graham with burial tomorrow in his home state of South Carolina. He died July 11th at the age of 71. No deaths reported despite a powerful tornado tearing into communities in Wisconsin. Winds hitting 140 miles per hour. Cleanup underway. Several homes destroyed. Roads choked with debris.
This is going to be a long challenge for the community. Ask everybody to stick together, and that includes being patient with each other.
Winnebago County Executive Gordon Hintz. America's listening to Fox News.
Your pet is missing. That sudden panic, the racing questions, the worry of what could happen. It's overwhelming. Petco Love Lost is here to help. This free, nonprofit-powered service uses photo matching technology to search the largest national lost and found pet database, including pets from shelters, neighbors, and social media, helping bring pets back to the people who love them. And it works. Every day, Petco Love Lost reunites pets with their families. A reunion happens every 4 minutes. Simply upload a photo of your lost pet or one you found, and Petco Love Lost's photo matching technology goes to work instantly. You can even register your pet in advance, so if the unthinkable happens, reporting them lost and helping bring them home is as easy as the click of a button. Every pet deserves a way home. Visit PetcoLoveLost.org to register your pet or upload a photo and search for a lost or found pet today.
Most pests hide in the shadows, just out of sight. But even as they go unnoticed, they can still put our health at risk. Often drawn to food, moisture, and clutter, pests can spread dangerous bacteria, trigger allergies, and also transmit diseases. In our homes, our workplaces, and even outdoors, pests are a serious health and safety threat. Knowing what to look for can help protect your health. Learn more at pestworld.org. A public service message from the National Pest Management Association.
America 250 is a great time to reflect on our country's past, present, and insane savings. BTRN's InsaneRadioDeals.com is celebrating 250 years of America with 25.0% off of everything. This includes savings on great local food options like the Briar Patch, Macado's, Oliver's 801 Raw Bar, Tacos Los Amigos, Caribbean Jerk Pot, and many more. The InsaneRadioDeals.com America 250 sale. 25.0% off of our entire inventory. Now until August 1st, you will not want to miss it.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, and asking your smart speaker, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the fast lane with Ed Lane and JJ Hendrickson.
So I don't normally begin the fast lane. I don't like saying it. Let's try this again. We don't normally begin the fast lane. This is JJ's show now as much as it is mine.
Happy to be here still.
Happy to have you here. And it's yours, the listeners. And we always appreciate your feedback at Fastlane Ed Lane on our social media platforms. Or if you want to get at me on my personal Facebook or LinkedIn at all, kind of goes the same. We don't normally start off with long sound bites. But I figure it's worth bringing this up because, let's be real here. All right, we could do a whole separate segment on this. Maybe we'll get to it tomorrow since Bryson Gordon of NewsAdvance.com is slated to join us tomorrow, and he is a big North Carolina Tar Heel football fan. Is it just me? And I've spoken with a couple of them. I don't know if you've spoken with any you know or followed any, JJ. Does it seem like they're almost glad that Michael Lombardi is placed on administrative leave right now and maybe seeing the end of his future approaching rather quickly?
It does kind of feel that way. I feel like whenever you see, especially a GM, have to step down because of something like an HR issue, the fans are usually pretty upset. They're happy to have that guy there. I really haven't seen a whole lot of that from UNC Tar Heel fans.
I mean, you could get all conspiracy theorists and presume that, maybe a co-ed got there and all of a sudden, someone set her up because they wanted to find a way to get Lombardi out and he took the cheese, for lack of a better phrase. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate to that particular degree, although David Glenn, who has a legal background, will provide more context on what's actually going on when David Glenn of the North Carolina Sports Network joins us around 5:40 today in the Fast Lane. But I think it's legit in terms of the concern. And I cycle all this to say, we haven't heard a ton about Virginia Tech and their general manager structure, although they have one in place, Penn State ties, as you would expect from James Franklin. But the vibe of the James Franklin operation, I think, gives Hokie fans enough pause, not to mention Franklin's proven and recently proven history of success at the power level in college football for Hokie fans to go, hey, I know we haven't heard from the GM. We've heard bits from Franklin, including our great chat, Fast Lane, Ed Lane, wherever you listen to podcasts, or the audiograms that are on the socials from the ACC football kickoff, our coverage presented by Black Goose Jimmy Service. But correct me if I'm wrong, you're a Tech fan, JJ. Tech fans, through all of that and what information they've gotten, probably get the impression going into year one that unlike North Carolina going into year one, we're like 33rd team, not really any access. We're going to draw this attention and give you nothing to the media, treating like the Boston media. I think Tech fans are buying willing to say, hey, may not be a ton, but we're getting something. Franklin seems professional. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I'm absolutely okay with it. I mean, you would like to hear some from your general manager, but I trust Franklin enough. He has the proven track record, especially, I mean, what he did at Penn State for over a decade. I'm really not worried at all about how Virginia Tech football is being run, and I fully trust James Franklin. And if he doesn't think the GM needs to come out and really be that involved with the media, I'm okay with it.
You know, I think there's some understandability. Part of it is Franklin has put himself out there. It's not a ton. Probably does as much national guys, but he's been on Tech Sidelines podcast, the TSL podcast, earlier this offseason. I get the impression they might like to try to get him once more before the season begins. I think the timing we got him, just getting into the weeds for a moment, I like it when we get these coaches at the kickoffs or before camp begins, because to me, once camp begins, the roller coaster is going until the end of the transfer portal and recruitment window wraps up in the early part of the new calendar year. So I think from that time on, coaches are much more curt, direct. You're just not getting them as open as you normally would. But I'll give a hat tip to Virginia as well, because their general manager has also made himself available to the media a couple of times. Justin Spiros, this is his first year. They did it last year as well, before Jones left in the offseason. And Justin Spiros, there are a couple things that stood out about what seemed to be impressive. This is where I'm violating what normally we're supposed to do in broadcast media, and professor to you, Bill Roth, would probably be upset at us. Long soundbite coming, but I think it's important for the context. If you're a Virginia fan, I like this because Justin Spiros clearly seems to understand how to navigate the complexity, shall we say, of, it's one of my favorite terms, agents. I say that tongue-in-cheek and do use the quotes for the visuals at Fastlane, Ned Lane, and VTRN Sports on Facebook Live and YouTube. But Spiros seems to understand the complexities of navigating the agents, not certified in the NFL, but fake agents and people that claim to be. To the point where Spiros gave a detailed explanation to us in our exclusive chat with him, along with David Teal of Daily Press and PilotOnline.com on Friday.
There's a lot of different voices out there. There's a lot of different people. There's a lot of different representation that exists in today's environment. And, there's very minimal regulation that exists for the college space when it comes to agents. And it's hard to kind of decipher in some cases who is really the voice. Is it some guy? I've talked to players in the portal that have 4 different people that are representing him. So who's the right one to talk to?
Tried to strike a deal with Iran.
No question. Yeah, it's crazy. So I think internally, right, first and foremost, we have to have a number. We have to have a tiered system, a structured system in mind before we go engage a representative. Because if not, it's just going to be a moving target. We're not going to be standing on solid ground as people doing the deal. So if we are really, really far apart, then I just asked if you walk me through how we got there, right? Why is that the case when we believe this to be the case? And then typically we can meet somewhere, that's good for all sides.
I
So
I
that's
still
how we do it.
I still believe, I know I cut him off. That was a long soundbite. Even I grew impatient. So to get my usher on. But Justin Spiros had that to say. And the reason for playing it as long as it was, 79 seconds, is because I think there's importance in context. First of all, some guys have 4 agents. Really? I don't know of anybody in the NFL that has that many agents. They have
Not one.
Don't go blindly through.
Well, yes, they are going blindly through life.
Not 2, not 3, not 4.
Well, yeah, 4. Maybe some of them have more than 4. We tried to play the LeBron bites and getting backfired. But, I mean, that's what you're dealing with. And you need somebody who understands how to work through those complexities. Like, again, this may be a Lombardi flaw among many others that seem to be surfacing in North Carolina. But, like, navigating NFL's agent world, you know, you have 1, maybe 2 if it's like Drew and Jason Rosenhaus, who were brothers. More on them in the Fast Five at 5-ish today, because they've been part of a big blockbuster NFL transaction with the Philadelphia Eagles today. But this is totally different in college, and you need somebody who understands it and the ability to be nimble, but also understand firm, solid ground. I think if I'm a Virginia fan, I like all of that. Again, to me, I still view them as a regression candidate. The schedule was easy last year. It's actually navigable again this year. But they were really good in close games last year. That's hard to do. Turnover luck, good in close games. Repeating that year over year, just the percentages say you're probably going to lose maybe a couple more of those in the next couple of years. Not to say it'll be terrible. But big picture, I think the process seems sound. And if I'm a Virginia fan, JJ, that's where I'm at least encouraged by Justin Spiros in that comment about agents. He understands there's 3 to 4 of them. So Virginia has to have a process they're committed to. They may miss out on guys, but you have to understand how to navigate all of that and juggle all those various elements.
Yeah, it sounds like he has a pretty good general understanding of how the landscape of college football is working right now. He understands you've got to talk with 4 different agents, which is just ridiculous. I don't know what a player would need 4 agents for. How many deals are they possibly finding him? But at the end of the day, UVA, they're coming off their best year in a long, long time. And this GM is setting them up for a bright future. He understands how it works, and he's getting them the players he needs. So if it takes him talking to 4 agents to get them the players that they need for the team, I think he's fully capable, and he's done a really great job so far.
I think you could also say Virginia I think they still have an upgrade in talent compared to a couple of years ago. Now they've embraced this model of understanding it. And with Spiros, one of the examples he brought up, how do you gauge that there's like legitimate interest or you're just being used as a leverage chip?
Okay, so if an agent's telling me a number, I have a number in mind, you know, we meet somewhere for a number and the kid takes a visit, that lets me know as a GM that we're in striking distance. If we can't get a kid on grounds, then that lets me know that, you know, and you know, it could be for a variety of different reasons, but you know, if we struggle to get a kid on a visit, that tells me that that we're kind of far apart number-wise.
You know, it's similar in sales, like with what I do with the Virginia Talk Radio Network. If I'm able to start communicating with decision makers, it doesn't mean the deal is going to happen all the time. And I'm not one to try to, you know, sign or die. Like, I know that's Wolf of Wall Street perception of sales. I do know it exists out there in other arenas, including media sales. It's not my style. You know, I present options. I am persistent, but I try not to beat people over the head. If anything, I'm just persistent for an answer. You can tell me not now, later, and give me timelines or things you're looking for, and we can keep working on it. And I understand this may take a while. And I get it. I've been at it long enough. I got the benefit of some, you know, traction and time being built up where just being around enough, you're not the guy that's going to disappear, good Lord willing, for a while. So selfishly, I understand that. But it goes similarly in the agent community of understanding that, but also having a basis of principles on which to go. And I think all of this is where it's not shocking when you look at Virginia. Some of it is reading the leaves. You have to have an ability to do that, to understand what's legitimate interest and what's not. There's the whole inflation concept. That's its other thing. But the other is, you know, it kind of goes with what Stanford's doing. Collective bargaining. They've organized a chapter of the CSPA, College Sports Players Association. And again, David Glenn's a lawyer, North Carolina Sports Network, 540 today in the Fast Lane. But having just firm, solid principles on which you want to operate. And again, I'm not, you know, saying I 100% buy this, but I think there's enough to believe that Virginia is not trying to navigate the murky waters when Justin Spiros comes out and says this, almost endorsing, this is pre the settlement today, but the NCAA College Sports Commission rules.
We are going to abide by the rules set forth by the NCAA and the College Sports Commission. Like, period, the end. And based on how we do things, this is what's available based on your body of work, how we project you in our team this year. And like, these are the rules of engagement if you want to come play at Virginia. And guys that like that discipline, like that structure, like this staff, want to graduate from UVA, like those are the guys that we really want at the end of the day. If someone's just chasing the dollar, even if it's $100,000 more, like that may not be the player that best fits this place. So for us, is it a challenge? Yes, but we're kind of running a little bit different races than some folks.
By the way, those clinking bottles were not liquor bottles or alcohol bottles. They were, I'm not joking. This event for Virginia's Media Day Friday was held in their player dining room, essentially, where those are condiment bottles. I can use that word, right, JJ, because I'm not mentioning any sponsors?
Yeah, of course.
That's what you're doing. But for Virginia, there's a firm set of rules. Now, I understand that. I think schools generally also understand where you might be able to work around and where there may be some softer edges to those rules. And I think you all have to be kind of testing limits to an extent. But by and large, firmly trying to abide by them versus not. I think it also indicates for Virginia, they're probably not going to be competing with, I'll just throw your LSUs, your Miamis, your Texas Techs, and other schools are in that description. I don't think they're quite doing that. But clearly, they are investing enough to be able to upgrade their talent. Now, how do you get to the point where all the schools are on the same spear? Again, cue us up. Stanford Players Association or their chapter of the College Sports Players Association, collective bargaining, which leads to
firm and hard salary cap that is enforced.
Absolutely.
That is enforced. Just give us a salary cap. That's
Now, how would NIL come into that?
And we have that right now, but it's people are challenging that cap. So I think what would be best for the competitiveness, let's have a salary cap and let's enforce it. Give us the rules and let's play by them. Let's all operate in the same sandbox. Right.
And what's amazing is Justin Spiros essentially is saying collective bargaining. Like, he gets it. And I think that's bold. Like, I actually am endeared to that type of comment because a lot of schools don't want anybody at all to bring up the concept, especially publicly, of collective bargaining because they don't want anyone advocating for it because they don't want to have to do it because that means you're going to have to be on the hook for more potential benefits, disabilities, insurance. Never mind, Virginia's got a very high-end healthcare system that could take care of these type of situations, as do a lot of schools that are out there, by the way. Not just Virginia, Carolina, Duke, and Miami, but plenty of others. But that, to me, endears me to a coach or a general manager when they're willing to say something that their school may not like, and it may not be part of, pardon the expression here, state media, but it's what people in the common sense world that are around this every day clearly know could be the resolution.
Yeah, I have a ton of respect for it. I know a salary cap in college sports probably is not the most popular thing in the world at this point. The big programs are going to want to remain just that, big programs. Kind of makes me think of, I'm going to bring it back to soccer, but the biggest clubs have the most money to bring in the best players, and that's why they remain to be the best. We don't see that kind of thing in other sports with the salary cap because it levels the playing field at the end of the day. And for a school like UVA, who isn't the top spender in the world, salary cap could go a long way in improving the team. And I really like what Spiros is thinking here. And just touching on what he said about the players, he doesn't want to get guys who would come to UVA for an additional $100,000. I really, really love that because the buy-in you get from players who actually want to be at your program for the program itself and not the money is going to be significantly better than you see from the guys who are just money hungry. And that's going to lead to a better product on the field, both for your fans and the team itself.
Yeah, I mean, look, you probably are missing out on a high-end talent. We'll just use him as an example. Jordan Seaton, who was, with his girlfriend. I don't know why you'd be getting her $50,000 worth of handbags when you don't even have a ring on it. But hey, we all have made bad decisions back in the day. You're blowing your NIL money on that. Hey, it's your money. More power to you. It's a free country. Maybe they go get married. God bless them if they do. That's their choice. I would hope they do. But, $50,000 for a girl you may not be with in a while. I mean, hey, that's a lot of money being allocated that way. It doesn't seem like Virginia is going to go after. Now, there is a blend of taking a risk on players because of their talent. And I think Virginia understands that. That's a topic for a different day because Justin Spiros has kind of mentioned that, whether it's unproven talent, why, how you can supplement and work around that with the right guys that you even take from the transfer portal. But all of that ties into where you are in terms of grasping the finances of college athletics and your situation, which also, speaking of college football finances, leads us into
It's time for Fast Five at 5-ish. 5-ish minutes on 5 relevant topics done around 5 p.m.-ish. Ish, because our counting skills are kinda ish. Let's start with number 5.
Ohio State entering into a $17 million per year jersey patch sponsorship with a bank that's not Farmers Bank. And therefore, it sets an initial ceiling on what jersey patch sponsorships could command. And then later today, Notre Dame topped that with an $18 to $20 million deal with another financial institution that once again is not Farmers Bank, which is now the richest jersey patch sponsorship in athletics history. So Ohio State set it, $17 million per year this morning. Notre Dame surpassed it, $18 to $20 million per year this afternoon. Where, to me, JJ, this is impressive and important is those are 2 of the 5 most valuable brands in college athletics. Michigan, Texas, you can put some others that are in that category as well. But they're at the top of the totem pole. If that's what they're commanding, now we have an idea of what the ceiling is, those type of numbers, and what other programs might be able to command in the college sports landscape.
Yeah, I'm really, really curious to see where schools of the size of UVA and Virginia Tech end up with these jersey sponsorships should they decide to pursue it. If Notre Dame's getting close to 20 mil, I think there's going to be a lot more bargaining power, and they could easily get over $10 million. But at the end of the day, we just really don't know what we're going to see from that size school. But definitely sets a very dangerous precedent financially.
Speaking of financial precedents,
number 4.
On the surface, the contract extension is a new financial precedent. Philadelphia Eagles inking a contract with the clients of 2 agents, Drew and Jason Rosenhaus. They are brothers. 4 years, $152 million extension that could get up to $160 million, includes $106 million in guaranteed money. Just, okay, on the surface of that, as an Eagles fan, I never thought they were trading Jalen Carter. He is, I'm not saying he's the best player on that team. I think Quinyon Mitchell defensively is more consistent and reliable, even though he's younger. And Saquon Barkley offensively, not to mention Lane Johnson's the future first ballot Hall of Famer at right tackle. So I think you can look to others. But Jalen Carter, you could argue, is the most raw, talented, and when he's at his peak, impactful player like he was in the NFC divisional round victory against the Rams, the conference championship against the Washington Commanders, and the Super Bowl. He didn't get any numbers because he ate up double teams from Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey, the 2 best Chiefs offensive linemen, so the rest of the D-line could eat against bad defensive linemen. That is Jalen Carter at his peak. There is risk to this. He's had shoulder injuries, which plagued him last year. How do we say this? Jalen Carter is another individual who, because of his decision-making, he likes to drive fast on the roads. It's a reminder that these people exist, which is why you need to remember Trost Law. 777-HURT and TrostLaw.com. Because if Jalen Carter is ever coming through the Commonwealth of Virginia, he could very well be involved in a not-so-wise auto decision, which might leave you needing our friends at Trost Law. That is part of the downside risk of Jalen Carter. Not to mention the fact that I think you can look at this differently. If you look at the fact that the Eagles still have, they're negotiating this on the fact that Carter was 3 years into his 5-year rookie contract. They still got year 4 coming up. They have the 5th-year option that they obviously will pick up. And so you put that on top of this, it actually goes from 4 years, $160 million or $38.5 million to 6 years, $194 million, which is $32.3 million per year, which is ahead of Chris Jones, but behind Justin Simmons. So he's the number 2 paid defensive tackle, which to me, all that makes sense financially. He has the potential to play his way to being the highest paid defensive tackle, but it's negotiated at the beginning of this deal, unlike the Cowboys who wait till the last second, giving Philadelphia strong financial strength.
Yeah, it sounds like a really, really big number, but Jalen Carter is a guy who has the talent that you're willing to take a risk, even if he has shown a little bit of character concerns in the past, but he's a Georgia football player, so we can't expect him to be too responsible. But he's already a 2-time Pro Bowler. He had shoulder injuries last year that limited him, but he still had 7 passes defensed in only 11 games. That was the second highest figure among all defensive tackles. He's a behemoth. He's 6'3", 314. Like you said, he commands a double team just about every snap. I really don't dislike this contract from Philadelphia at all.
Get it done soon because they're going to have to lock up Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, presumably next offseason when both of them are officially eligible for that extension. They're almost certainly going to lose defensive tackle Moro Ojomo. You can't pay everybody. The Eagles already aimed Jordan Davis. Somebody's going to end up going. You might be able to make a pretty good defensive line on players the Eagles have brought in but just could not retain because they've had so many other high-end players they've had to keep. That's a topic for a different day. Speaking of driving decisions,
Number 3.
I applaud 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan. Apparently this afternoon, he brought reporters into his office and got his usher on and confessed that while there is a California Highway Patrol database that attributes the wreck in which Shanahan was involved as being responsible to the other driver, Shanahan clarified and said, no, it was actually his fault. To me, look, Shanahan at times strikes me as smartest guy in the room, and I've kind of looked down on him despite the fact he's a really good coach. To me, this is a very mature decision. I know it's getting ahead of the story. It probably would have been corrected. I know the other person's legal team could be involved, and maybe there's some settlement discussions and all the things that go on behind the scenes. But the fact that Shanahan at least jumped ahead of it is smart PR if you want to be cynical. And if you want to give him more of the benefit of the doubt on the other side, I think it's reasonable to praise the fact that he could have easily hidden behind his lawyers. Instead, he got out in front of this.
Yeah, I have a ton of respect for this decision. He said he dropped his phone when he was driving is what caused the accident. But at the end of the day, it's a great PR move. We're sitting here talking about him, praising him. I really like it. I think it shows a little bit of his character and great move from his perspective.
Meanwhile, there's no easy way to transition to a much more sad story.
Number 2.
Elijah Bieniemy is the son of Eric Bieniemy and his wife, who was shot this past Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. I mean, it's just sad all the way around. Like, if it is in fact Bieniemy's son who shot him, and I mean, I'd presume if the mom is around and able to speak, she could identify to the authorities what her son looks like and if he shot her. I'm just going to use some deductive reasoning here. It's just sad. Like, I know football is a taxing job. I know Bieniemy may not have the best pass if you really want to dig and look up in it. But none of this excuses that. And from a parent's standpoint, the pain of it. Like, my parents and I, we've gone through some rocky times ourselves. This has never been something that's crossed my mind. It doesn't cross most people's minds, even if they're at odds with their kids or with their parents. And when it gets to the situation, I'll get religious for a second. Just pray. Just pray for other people going through this stuff, because you never know where someone feels that low or that lost or that is suffering with some kind of an issue that this ends up being the route they go.
Yeah, absolutely heartbreaking. I mean, you don't want to assume anything here, but you got to wonder what's going on in that kid's life, and you just got to pray for Bieniemy and the rest of the family. Just a really, really tough situation.
Number 1.
No easy way to transition out of that to this one. Southern Illinois and Liberty have finalized an agreement, or are finalizing an agreement to meet at a neutral site date November 17th down in Charlotte on the campus of Queen's University. They're about similar in terms of their KenPom and record ratings the last couple of years. According to a CFRed.com, they've never met before, considering John Manson went to Liberty and is very astute in that. I'll tip the cap and give him the benefit of the doubt. I think there's an interesting angle of this, though. This is a neutral site game in Charlotte at Queen's University. This speaks to Richie McKay and Liberty having a good working relationship, even with schools that are no longer in their conference and on their schedule. I think that's something that is just worth noting and filing in the back of your head. Meanwhile, when we return, Chris Canty, former Virginia Cavalier, how optimistic is he about their direction in football? What about being a defensive tackle? Does he wish he was one today with the amount of money they're getting? We'll discuss all that with him when we return here in the Fast Lane.
Midday hunger hitting you hard? Swing by Macadoo's for our $8.95 weekday lunch specials. Whether you're craving a classic crunch or something fresh, we've got you covered. Chicken tender basket featuring crispy golden tenders served with fries. The Macadoo's Chef Salad, a healthy, loaded favorite that will hit the spot. Hit back against your lunchtime hunger at Macadoo's with eats that won't break the bank.
Time to share it and fun. Just to be there, the only one. Just to be there at Macadoo's.
We'll see you at the Doos.
End zone, light them up, touchdown Liberty.
The atmosphere at a game is amazing. It is like family.
I've been a season ticket holder for 14 seasons. The atmosphere is electric.
On the sideline.
It's an experience. You look forward to it every week.
I like the pageantry, the band.
The pride of knowing that this is our university.
2026 Flames football season tickets are on sale now. Get yours at lufootball.com.
Hey, Okie fans. Each offseason, you don't see or hear much. So let TechSideline.com be your eyes and ears for what's really going on with the Virginia Tech Hokies. From basketball roster and staff construction to the buildup of the James Franklin era, we take you behind the scenes of the Hokies. Get exclusive recruiting deep dives, expert roster analysis, and insider updates you won't find anywhere else. Stay ahead of the game this upcoming offseason. Subscribe to TechSideline.com for $12 a month or $120 per year. TechSideline.com. All Hokies, all the time, period.
Fluffy, made from scratch biscuits. Hearty ham, sausage and bacon paired with eggs. When you're craving a hearty morning start, head to 801 Raw Bar for an authentic, true country-style breakfast. You'll be greeted by the sound of sizzling bacon, the beauty of fluffy scrambled eggs, and the taste of golden buttermilk biscuits, cooked fresh and piled high. You don't need deep pockets for a deeply satisfying meal. Get classic Southern breakfast at 801 Raw Bar. Big country flavor, tiny price tag.
VTRN Sports, your companion at work, at home, and in your car. VTRN Sports. Download our app and take us everywhere.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at JJ Hendrickson 27 and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
First of all, to get my usher on to come back in the Fast Lane, I don't quite know whether our next guest, which of the ESPN platforms on television on which he appears. Because I just listened to him on the VTRN Sports app, so we can listen to him weekday morning, 6 to 10 a.m. right here on VTRN Sports Lynchburg, powered by ESPN Radio. That being Chris Canty, who is back with us in the Fast Lane. He is a former Virginia Cavalier, I might add, and he joins us here in the Fast Lane. You can listen to him just like I do on 93.3 FM and the VTRN Sports app, weekday morning, 6 to 10 a.m. Chris, a pleasure to be speaking with you in the Fast Lane. Glad to hear you live in the afternoon, although first of all, I hope and pray that you and your family are well, and second of all, I hope and pray you have energy as somebody who is up in the early hours of the morning to churn out 4 wonderful hours of morning show content for us.
Well, let me tell you this. I'm the proud father of a 6-month-old. So I look at what I do from 6 to 10 a.m. as my part-time job. My full-time job is when I'm at home on diaper duty.
I've been there before. I've got 2 8-year-old boys. I don't miss the diaper days, but they grow up fast, and then they start talking to you, and yes, sometimes talking back to you.
Yeah, I'm waiting on that one. Right now, he's getting ready to crawl, so we're bracing for impact.
Once that happens, when they climb, that's the real one. I'll never forget, I got home, and one of them was already mobile, and the other one, we had a little playpen area, and the one who's more rambunctious could not get out of it. And the moment he learned to climb out of it, my wife just came home and said, "We've got a climber." And I'm like, "Did he climb out of his area?" And she's like, "Yep." And I'm like, "It's over." And it has been. It's a joy, but it's been over.
That's hilarious. Well, yeah, I'm on the verge of all of that good stuff. But I tell you what, the best way to describe being in the parenthood, it's beautiful chaos, and I love it.
It really is. And congratulations to you and your wife on your first. I hope and pray that everybody is healthy and well throughout that journey and process. It can be touch and go. And so, ours are 6 weeks premature. They're fine now, but we had 3 weeks in the NICU at birth. And so I understand that process can be that way. And I just hope and pray everybody's healthy, safe, and well right now.
We're doing great. Appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely wonderful. Chris Canty, unsportsmanlike, weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. right here on the VTRN Sports app and 93.3 FM here in the greater Lynchburg area, as Chris is with us here in the Fast Lane. Chris, do you wish you were a defensive tackle after the news of the Jalen Carter extension came down today?
I'm telling you, that's pretty good money. That's great work if you can find it. 4 years, $160 million in max value, $40 million a year. That just shows you the value of Jalen Carter as a player. It also shows you the value of being able to generate interior pressure and create disruption in the middle of offenses. You're starting to see that trend in the NFL. If you look at the Final Four teams last year in the postseason, all of them had dominant interior players, whether it was Zach Allen with the Denver Broncos, Milt Williams with the New England Patriots, you had Kobe Turner from the LA Rams, and of course with the Seattle Seahawks, you had Leonard Williams. So all of those teams had dominant interior players, and that was a building block for what were formidable defenses a year ago. And it feels like the NFL is trending in that direction and valuing that position appropriately.
So you brought that up. One of the strengths, it seems, in Philadelphia, at least with Howie Roseman, is the concept of market inefficiencies. Is it reasonable to say that even with the max value of $40 million per year for Jalen Carter, when you compare him to, he's 25, Myles Garrett's older and getting a little bit more, understandably so. Will Anderson same draft class at about $50 million per year for his contract, that defensive tackles are still undervalued relative to the fact that the best quarterbacks, that seems to be the one place they don't want pressure.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be made for that, right? The quickest way to any point is a straight line. So defensive linemen being in the middle of it, if you can find a way when you've got two sets of hands on you to get penetration in the middle of the offensive line, that blows up any play, whether it's run or pass. So those of them that can do it at a really high level, you're starting to see them catch up a little bit to the contracts that we're seeing with the premier edge rushers. If you think about it this way, you saw Daniel Jones get a 2-year contract extension with the Indianapolis Colts to the tune of $44 million in average annual value. Jalen Carter is right behind that, and he's a defensive tackle that just came off of shoulder surgery on both shoulders. So I would just say this, you're starting to see that market pick up a little bit. We saw Jeffrey Simmons a couple of weeks ago. We're seeing Jalen Carter's deal now. I would anticipate Vita Vea getting involved in the defensive tackle market, a new deal getting done in training camp. So, yeah, this is more of the trend that we're going to see in the National Football League because there is a premium on guys that have the ability from the interior of the defensive line to break down the pocket.
Chris Canty 99 on Twitter for more insight, or just check it out weekday morning 6 to 10 a.m. right here on the VTRN Sports app at 93.3 FM. Is Chris Canty, former Virginia Cavalier, is with us in the Fast Lane. We will get to that in just a moment. NFL training camp, though, is getting ready to begin. We've touched on the Eagles. Obviously, they've got that. They've got new offensive coordinator. The rest of the NFC East, though, for the Washington Commanders starting training camp, how big is it for them, especially the departure of tight ends coach Ben Steele? Is that underrated because they're breaking in a whole new set of tight ends, or at least a lot of unproven talent there? Or is it something that maybe people are over-discussing relative to where the other big points of emphasis are in year 3 of Dan Quinn?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of an over-discussion. I would say this, there's a lot of new on that offense in terms of some of the key cogs, Chigga Guanco coming over from Tennessee. You got Rashad White from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there's some new there, and you got a new offensive coordinator. So those moving parts are going to create a bit of a learning curve for everyone involved. I'm not quite sure that the tight ends coach is going to be something that is insurmountable for this Commanders team. But what I will say is this, the priority has to be finding a way to protect Jaden Daniels. That means finding a way to operate under center a little bit more, finding a way to close the edges by utilizing 12 personnel, 2 tight end sets, using cut splits from the receivers. There's just a lot of things from a creativity standpoint that David Blau is going to have to bring to the offense in order to find ways to protect Jaden, because we've seen when this dude is fully healthy, when he's not dealing with a knee sprain, when he's not dealing with a hamstring injury, when he's not dealing with a dislocated elbow, he can spin it with the best of quarterbacks in the National Football League. And so priority number 1 for Dan Quinn and the coaching staff has to be starting every single snap on the offensive side of the ball with a protection plan and making sure that you keep 5 clean.
Which is the bigger concern for you, Chris, for the Washington Commanders? Is it the overall play of the offensive line, or is it the scheme being able to protect Jaden Daniels?
Well, I think it's a combination of the two. I don't think it's just one thing. What I do think bodes well for the Commanders is that Sam Cosmi sounds like he's going to be healthy coming into this season. So being able to have your offensive line, everybody coming in this season healthy and building continuity and building chemistry with that group in training camp, that is going to be critical, especially when you're starting to employ a new scheme, and particularly if you're going to try to utilize more formations with the quarterback being under center. So I do think that that's one of the things that you do want to get as many reps as you possibly can. And so that's going to be the benefit of training camp as I see it for the offensive side of the ball. This season, you're not dealing with the Terry McLaurin holdout, so that won't serve as a distraction. Again, chemistry, rapport is going to be critical for this group so they can hit the ground running this season.
On the rest of the NFC East, are you as bullish as a lot of people are that the Dallas Cowboys with a new defensive coordinator, Christian Parker from Philly, and a new head coach for the New York Giants will be enough to vault them into contender status, and maybe you've got all four of these teams duking it out for the NFC East crown?
Well, I think the NFC East will be improved from a year ago. I don't see the Giants as a viable contender for a division title. We'll see what happens. It's been a noisy offseason up here in the tri-state area around Big Blue. So we'll see how everything goes on that front. I will say this. I think the Commanders are a team that has the greatest degree of variance of any team in the National Football League. You know, we saw last year they were a 5-win team. A year ago, they were a 12-win team. They had a 101-point differential swing from 24 to 25. So quite literally one of the biggest degrees of variance, if not the biggest, of any team we're seeing in the NFL. But I do think Washington has the raw ingredients to contend for a title. The Dallas Cowboys, one of the most prolific offenses in the league. They were one of two teams to have a 4,000-yard passer, 1,000-yard rusher, and 2,000-yard receivers. Their offensive line is coming back intact, maybe one of the best groups in all of football on that front. And, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles have won the division 2 years in a row. So I do think it's legitimately a three-team race to win the NFC East this year.
Wow, that could make it even more fun. Chris Canty with us here in the Fast Lane. More great insight weekday morning, 6 to 10 a.m. with Unsportsmanlike. Chris Canty is part of that group that you hear on the VTRN Sports app and 93.3 FM. Chris, we'll wrap it up on this one. You're a Virginia Cavalier graduate and former Virginia Cavalier football player. How impressed were you with the direction that Virginia is going after what they showed last year and what we seem to be experiencing with Justin Sparrows as the GM and a very intact coaching staff once again?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Virginia football apparatus has done a phenomenal job, and Carla Williams has done a great job of getting good people in the building to support Tony Elliott. And we saw last year they were able to have success in the transfer portal with Chandler Morris stepping in and doing a phenomenal job at quarterback. This year we're going with Bo Prabula. And I think that's going to be awesome to see what he can bring to the table. He's played big-time ball in the SEC and the Big Ten. So I just think that Virginia has done a really good job of utilizing the resources that have been around them. We saw our general manager go to Stanford. Congratulations to Tyler. I think he's going to kill it out there. But there are still a lot of good people in the building supporting Tony Elliott. And I'm just excited to see this program continue to make strides and have that sustained success, sustained excellence in the ACC.
Is there a bit of an exhale for you as a former Virginia Cavalier football star and a UVA graduate as well, knowing that it seems like they've towed the line correctly as far as the right blend of embracing where modern college athletics is, but also not fully sacrificing off of what makes UVA a unique institution?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we have standards both athletically and academically, and we're not for everybody, and we understand that. But when we do have recruits choose UVA, there is 100% buy-in, and that's what I love about our program. You're not going to find a better place to play football and to get an education in the country than what you can find in Charlottesville, Virginia. So I'm just glad that I chose to go there. It's truly a special place. And we're starting to see recruits across the national landscape come to that realization as well.
Chris Canty 99 on Twitter, and the easiest way to keep up with him is just listen to the VTRN Sports app all the time, and especially for Unsportsmanlike with Chris Canty on that weekday 6 to 10 a.m. right here on the VTRN Sports app and VTRN Sports Lynchburg, powered by ESPN Radio 93.3 FM. Chris, great to catch up again. Thank you very much, and wishing you as much sleep as your young one will allow.
All right, thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you all soon.
Indeed. Chris Canty with us here in the Fast Lane. Gracious of him to give us some time and go over his expectations for Virginia, who happens to be picked 6th in the latest preseason ACC polls. I may have had them a little bit lower than that. Virginia Tech maybe a little bit higher than people expected them, but I think there's kind of a cluster. I have Miami, SMU, and Louisville, which is the top 3 as everyone else did. I'm more down on Florida State than everybody else. I can get into those reasons a little bit later, but they have a coach on the hot seat. They have a bunch of transfers. If that goes south early, that team seems to be the type where it could really implode. North Carolina is right ahead of them. I didn't quite envision the Michael Lombardi news coming, but again, if it goes south with North Carolina, where are they mentally? I think Clemson will underperform, but I just think there's enough of a culture there where they still fight. So it's probably a difference for me. Those are my observations. What about Dave Glenn? Where does he have the ACC preseason poll in line with his own projections. We'll get to that, plus more, when we return here in the Fast Lane.
Mark Dalton here with the Terry Auto Group. If you don't love your car, then you're simply just driving the wrong one. At Terry Volkswagen, Terry Subaru, Terry Auto Outlet, and the Terry Clearance Center, we've got the perfect new or used car for you. We make your car buying experience easy. Need help with imperfect credit? No problem. Our team works hard to get you approved and back on the road. Because when you shop at Terry, you drive away happy. Visit us at any of our 4 locations or online at terryautogroup.com. Terry Auto Group. You'll love our cars.
Big transitions feel like big hurdles. That's why Central Virginia Counseling has 2 dynamic 6-week summer groups for rising 6th and 9th graders packed with essential life skills. Each week targets a new skill for success, tools like organization, time management, task initiation, anxiety reduction techniques, and skills for making friends and communicating well. Through peer connection and expert guidance, students will gain tools to feel capable, connected, and ready for day one. Visit us on Timberlake Road or Wigington Road in Lynchburg or at centralvirginiacounseling.com to learn more.
You walk into a repair shop, hear the price of their estimate, realize they'll take an eternity to get to you, and go, uh-oh, better get Mako. At Mako of Lynchburg, they're certified to do repairs on any type of car and for any insurance company because they ultimately answer to you. They'll process through insurance companies or help you pay out of pocket. They don't get better prices to insurance companies than they would for you because at Mako, it's all about being honest with you. So if your car needs collision repair or paint, go, uh-oh, better get Mako on Kemper Street in Lynchburg.
Hey guys, this is Chad Hassan with ASeaofRed.com. ASeaofRed.com is the #1 trusted independent news source for Flames sports. You can get access to premium content such as the Rumor Mill by becoming an ASeaofRed.com club member for only $84 a year. If you are a diehard Liberty Flames fan and want all the inside scoop, along with coverage of recruiting and all the major sporting events over at LU, visit ASeaofRed.com. Go Flames.
Come join the chat or give us a piece of your mind. JJ Hendrickson 27 and Fastlane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
ACC preseason football poll has been released. Miami, SMU, Louisville are the top 3 in theirs in that order, and the top 3 in mine in that order. Boston College and Stanford are at the bottom of mine and of that poll. Everything else in the middle is jumbled up, and maybe I'm off base in believing that there could be a pretty good variance between those teams in the ACC from kind of 4 all the way down to about 15, depending on how seasons go. Does Dave Glenn agree or disagree? He's been covering this league a long time. I don't know if I would say longer than I've been around because I don't want to date him, but he has the credentials to critique my assessment as he does often with the North Carolina Sports Network. Dave, glad to have you back in the Fast Lane. Glad to connect. Where am I right? Where am I wrong?
Well, Ed, it's good to be with you as always. I think it's a pretty good assessment overall. I had the Miami Hurricanes #1 on my ballot. They not only played in the national championship game last year, but they continued to recruit really well, both from the high school ranks and the transfer portal under Coach Mario Cristobal. And I do think there's maybe 2 or 3 or so teams at the bottom, with those like SMU, Louisville, maybe Clemson up top next to the Miami Hurricanes. In the middle, man, I don't know if it's 4 or 5. I don't know if it's 13 or 14, but basically a season could go either way. Because, for example, I watched Wake Forest and UNC play last year in person. There was a slight difference between the 2 teams, but Wake ended up with 9 wins and UNC ended up with 4 wins, despite what was only a slight talent differential. So that underlines the unpredictable nature of this stuff here in the preseason.
So my only beef in terms of those in the middle that I would even say, I think you can make a lot of compelling cases. I'm worried about Duke. I had them a little bit lower than 10th because of Darian Mensah and the difficulty replacing him so late. And I have Florida State lower than 11th just because I tend to believe Mike Norvell, if it goes south early for them and they look to get rid of him, that's a transfer-heavy roster, and that seems to be one where, how can we say, wandering eyes could be a problem with a lot of players in Tallahassee. Where am I right? Where am I wrong?
Well, I share your skepticism about Florida State. I mean, the reality is the most negative energy in the entire ACC, at least in football right now, is around 2 programs. One is Florida State, because the Seminoles have gone from not long ago, remember, knocking on the door of a national championship possibility under Mike Norvell to face planting in back-to-back seasons and just seeing an exodus of transfers. And I mean starting caliber players. We're used to seeing low in the standings teams have their rosters rated by the Big Ten or the SEC or other schools that have deeper pockets and bigger budgets. We're not used to seeing schools like Florida State have that happen to them, and yet the losing has contributed to that talent exodus from Tallahassee. And then Carolina is picked low in part because it feels like every time you read about the Tar Heels in football, it's either because they're losing on the field or because they have some kind of goofy, negative off-the-field headline to go with it.
You set us up. So we just pivot with Dave Glenn of the North Carolina Sports Network to that story involving the North Carolina Tar Heels. First of all, the Michael Lombardi angle, then there's the NCAA angle. How much of Michael Lombardi being on paid leave is the HR matter? How much of it is the NCAA College Sports Commission investigation? Or is there an overlap with any of that?
We don't know for sure is the honest answer, but I would be surprised if it is more than the HR issue. Because remember, this paid administrative leave, I'll put it this way. The College Sports Commission doesn't care about human resources issues, period. So when Michael Lombardi got this paid administrative leave, it did not come from the athletic director, Steve Newmark, or the outgoing athletic director, Bubba Cunningham. It came from the top of the university. So it's just an investigation for now. We don't know where the story is going to go. But Michael Lombardi is on paid administrative leave because of the allegations against him in the HR department of the University of North Carolina. Now, this separate thing, this inquiry is also going on. Are the Tar Heels mismanaging either the salary cap, quote unquote, revenue sharing, $21 or so million is allowed to go these days from an athletic department directly to all athletes, not just football athletes, but most of it does go to football players. Is Michael Lombardi, as remember, the general manager of UNC football, the guy who's negotiating deals and making sure that the combination of internal revenue sharing money and external name, image, likeness money, is all that going to the players as the Tar Heels promised in the recruiting process? Well, there's rules to follow. And very specific rules to follow. And the College Sports Commission is asked to govern such things. And again, that is only an inquiry. We don't have a final conclusion yet. But Michael Lombardi is in the crosshairs in two different ways, one with his own university and one with essentially the NCAA through the College Sports Commission.
I think we might have to use the phrase that I often advise people when they're considering things they shouldn't do. This won't end well. Am I off base in saying that for Michael Lombardi, this probably won't end well?
I don't think that's a leap of faith because you and I have both been around long enough to know this. If you are winning on the field, a lot of other bad things can happen and you keep your job. We see it all the time. I mean, you can be one step short of an axe murderer in college sports, and if you win enough, and they believe they need you to keep winning, you'll keep your job. And that's only a slight exaggeration, history tells us. However, when you're 4-8 on the field last year, which the Tar Heels were in year one under Bill Belichick, $10 million a year coach, most by far the Tar Heels have ever paid in that sport, $1.5 million a year general manager, Mike Lombardi. That he was hired as the highest paid GM in all of college football. When you go 4-8 on the field in year one, and you're projected to go something similar in year two, and you have the circus sideshow with these separate inquiries into Mike Lombardi and goofy girlfriend headlines surrounding Bill Belichick and all sorts of other off-the-field questions and even occasionally embarrassments to the Tar Heels. Nobody survives the combination of both losing on the field for multiple years in a row and having a circus sideshow in the headlines to go with it. Right now, that's what Carolina football is. So again, if they somehow go 8-4 this fall, Bill Belichick's not going to get fired. Mike Lombardi's a different issue because we have to see how those two inquiries play out. But I don't see the Tar Heels as having enough talent to put up that kind of a record. And that means everybody's going to be asking about the size of the buyouts come January of 2027. And we know the answer, by the way. It's $10 million to buy out Bill Belichick. It would be $15 million right now, $10 million starting in January. And Mike Lombardi has a significant buyout as well. If it comes to that, we'll see.
Am I off base in believing, as Dave Glenn, North Carolina Sports Network is with us in the fast lane? Am I off base in believing that there's a part of the North Carolina fan base that is actually glad this is happening? Because it seems like there are not very many people that are exactly pining for North Carolina to keep Michael Lombardi.
That's a fair question, and it's hard to gauge the percentages. I'll say this. There are administrators at UNC who remember when Bill Belichick was hired, it was not the conventional coaching search. Bubba Cunningham, the AD at the time, was doing one coaching search, and then some members of the Board of Trustees, power-hungry people, just did their own renegade parallel coaching search. And they're the ones that led to Bill Belichick. So administratively, those people who stuck their necks out for Bill Belichick and Mike Lombardi, they have an incentive to give these guys more time because they don't want to be embarrassed by their selections in that renegade search process. So that's one of the reasons Bill Belichick, of course, gets a year too. They want to see this turn around because they stuck their necks out for these guys. But in the run-of-the-mill fan base, it's hard, again, to put percentages on it, but it feels to me, as a guy who's covered the Tar Heels for almost 4 decades, it feels like the majority of Carolina football fans are embarrassed by what this program has become and just aren't sure what to make of the fact that it was a horrible product on the field last year. And the projections are it's not going to be a lot better this year. Again, I think some of those fans are playing a little bit of wait and see because practice starts this week and the first game is only a month away. There will be a massive difference in the UNC fans' perspective on Bill Belichick especially. They don't care about Mike Lombardi as much. But Bill Belichick as the head coach, the difference between 8 and 4 would be doubling your win total and celebrating that you have a 6-time Super Bowl champion running your program. But going 4-8 for the second year in a row would have many of those same people calling for Bill Belichick's head.
Last question for David Glenn of the North Carolina Sports Network. We are seeing in real time the SEC and the Big Ten trying to get on board with everything in the Protect College Sports Act. Will this really change anything operationally with how those conferences are ahead of everybody else in college sports, or is this just more shuffling Titanic deck chairs?
Well, number one, I don't think the act is going to pass. So I think we're going to be stuck with the system we have for a while longer. And the honest answer is it depends, because Congress has been fiddling with that act, in part because the SEC and the Big Ten keep pointing out what they want to see changed in that act. I mean, there's one part of that act that says they're not allowed to expand beyond 19 schools, right? Well, they don't want Congress telling them they're not allowed to expand, whereas they do want Congress saying 5 years to play 5 and only 1 player transfer without a penalty and other details. So that they want not only the outline of the act, they want to be able to cross out the lines, the parts of the act that they don't want to apply to them. And that's one of the reasons that I don't think it's going to have enough votes to pass the United States Congress. And that's why we're going to be stuck with the current hodgepodge system that we have in college sports for at least 1 more year.
David Glenn of the North Carolina Sports Network with us here in the Fast Lane. David, thank you for succinctly sharing that with us. As a fellow Philadelphia sports fan, we hope you enjoy the joy of seeing LeBron James in Philadelphia and the money that Jalen Carter is earning today.
That has been a fun part. All my boys that I grew up with in Philly and the surrounding areas are more excited to be Sixers fans than they have been in decades. And obviously there's some other good news surrounding the Eagles, even the Phillies a little bit. So it's a fun time to be a sports fan if you're a supporter of those city of brotherly love teams.
Indeed it is. David Glenn with us here in the Fast Lane. Dave, great to chat with you. We appreciate your making some time for us. Stay sane, especially when you have to go over to Chapel Bill.
Great to see you, Ed. In person not long ago and online today. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. It's always our pleasure. Dave Glenn with us here in the Fast Lane to wrap up our chats with him today. If you missed that, or former Virginia Cavaliers star Chris Canty Fast Lane, Ed Lane, however you listen to podcasts. We'll have more on Justin Speros. There's so many interesting angles to what he's mentioned, how to project inflation, when to take character risks, the value of taking Ivy League type transfers and bringing those type of guys in because of the ability to then take flyers elsewhere, including on a former Salem running back from the Salem Spartans. All of that still to come in the next couple of days, not to mention jam-packed slate of guests tomorrow in the Fast Lane.